my name is Justin Bright, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program version 1.10.1 in my next small step RP-1 career mode playthrough. And you heard me right, I have done the thing I have told you repeatedly not to do, which is upgrade your version of RP-1 in mid-career. So yeah, I've done that and done a fresh install from scratch and all that, and everything seems to be working pretty well. I've done a little bit of testing. We have ignition and throttling up turbines to power. We have liftoff and oh no, well that's not great. I must have messed up my avionics at some point because we do not have the avionics to actually do this. But while I'm distracting you from that, take a look at this lovely, lovely new plumes from the Waterfall mod. Because yes, I took the chance or the opportunity while I was reinstalling everything to also change up to some other cool new things that I have found or were pointed to. But you can see we are about to shed our 500th ton, and we have just barely gotten over 70 meters per second, so it should theoretically be fine, question mark. Yeah, that's not really kosher, what I just did here, but, oh wow, that's really neat. But, you know, I'll fix it for next time. I don't know. But yeah, anyways, I did the thing. I upgraded to 1.10. I am finding that I am having some pretty great experience with the performance. That has been improved. There's some better textures and some other things that are going on that have been just lovely so far. But I'm currently just marveling at how amazing these plumes look. Because the plumes from Real Plume were fantastic, but I'm really enjoying these as well. But yeah, so we've got Johnny Flores, Lisa Kim, and Thomas Reed kind of getting the old band together, so to speak, and we are on our way to the moon, doing a full-on Saturn V, launch to the moon, and we are going to see what all I've messed up on this thing, because I think the engines are a little bit messed up, but oh man, look at that. Look at those F1 engines just like blasting out colors. Wow, I didn't realize that was a thing. But yeah, we are on our way to the moon doing a full-on Saturn V Apollo-style lunar landing with the proper lunar lander and all of that. We are trying to fulfill the targeted lunar landing mission, which is in here somewhere. So yeah, we are trying to land in the moon's major craters, so I'm gonna have to figure out where that is. But then we are gonna spend 36 hours on the moon and come home. At least fingers crossed that we're gonna be able to do that. I'm not sure that I don't know if I've actually kitted out my my lander to be able to live that long. And you'll notice that the even the backdrop looks better. This is the brand new Skybox mod that I got involved. Like, yeah, so everything is just looking absolutely phenomenal, and it's running better for me, which I'm really pretty happy about. So yeah, I guess we'll see how that goes, but for now, we've done a couple of these launches, and it's mostly a matter of whether the my lander is going to have the life support to deal with this. And we have stage separation, our launch escape system fires off, our first stage comes away, and we have our 5 J2s burning away. They're a little bit, it looks like the offset got a little messed up in the update, but I fixed it on a different Apollo, but I didn't remember to come in and fix it on this one because it was already rolling out to the pad. So whatever. All right, coming to the end of our second stage, and we have burnout, separation, and ignition of the single J2 engine on the end there, and just look at that big, gorgeous, wide liquid hydrogen plume. I love it. Just fantastic. All right, couple more seconds until we finish out this burn, and we arrive in a stable low Earth orbit. And boop, there we go, and you can see another thing. The RCS is incredibly cool. Look at that. Look at how gorgeous that is. I love it. So yeah, there we go. It looks pretty good to me, so we are now moving on to make this burn. And yeah, so as we're kind of just looking at how absolutely gorgeous things are here in the dark. In the dark, you say, hold on. And in the dark indeed, I just turned up the ambient light, and that does make that look a little bit better. All right, so here we come into the sun on our way to our transfer. Oh, I'm back out of the sun, I guess. To our transfer on the way to the moon. Just about ready to fire up this burn. We are more than ready to start up this burn. We're about 20 seconds late, thanks to MacLeod not agreeing with the regular burn time node, I guess, question mark. But in any case, there we go. We have ignition of our J2 engine, and we are on our way. Yeah, so this is my recreation of Apollo 11. There's not a whole lot of pomp and circumstance because I've kind of done all of the individual steps here, but we'll talk a little bit about the lunar lander when we are on our way down to the surface. But it's just that up until that point, everything that we've done is basically what we've done before. We've used the 5F1 and 5J2 Saturn V once or twice, maybe only once, but and we've sent something on this profile before to go not just to the moon, but also to land on the moon. So this is going to be pretty exciting because we're going to actually get to use the Apollo lunar excursion module architecture and all those pieces that I have not had a chance to use before. But yeah, so that should be fantastic, and that's new enough. But it's just the vast majority of this should be pretty familiar. It's kind of a sad thing when RSS moon landings are like commonplace. But this is only the second time I've ever done it with a crew, so that makes this pretty damn exciting. But yeah, as we finish up this burn on the way to the moon, I will say that we are using the Apollo 3 architecture on the command module, and we're using my custom service module and all of that, but we are using like I said, we're using the stock pieces of the lunar excursion module, which should be it's mostly self-contained, like it's only a couple of parts, but you have to like add on the landing legs and things like that. So it's a little bit different from being like a single piece replica, but it does have a whole lot of the different module bits built in. But I'm going to be doing this pretty much in the way that Apollo 11 went down, where I'm going to be having just 2 people come down to the surface and leaving 1 in orbit, if only to maintain a little bit of the what do you call it? Maintain the life support stuff, you know what I mean? Because I'm not 100% sure how the life support situation is going to look, so I want to make sure that we have the best shot possible at actually making this happen without any big issues. So yeah, anyways, we are now going to enter into total Apollo mode here, where we are probably would have done this part earlier, but the next thing that happened after the separation or the translunar injection burning on towards the moon was that they would separate the command module. Just make sure our staging is all correct here. Yep, separate the staging or separate the service module and command module combined, and then they would open up this pedal adapter. So in here, these are just going to break off, and that's whatever. But in real life, these just kind of like folded open slightly, and kaboom! Here we go. And then you can see that we are packed in right on top of the lunar module. And the way that worked is the way that we are going to work it, where we are just going to push away just slightly. And then set that as the target. And now that we are just a little bit away, we don't want to go too far, but we do want to be just a little bit away so that we have some clearance as we rotate around, because you're probably never going to get a absolutely perfect flip. So here we go, flipping around to parallel negative so that we can point directly at our target. All right, that is very cool. So yeah, that is exactly how that was supposed to work, where you can just imagine that the pedals were just like folded open, and then the Apollo module was flipping around to reach in and grab the lunar module. There you see, just that little flip maneuver has gotten us mostly on target. We just a little bit of a correction and a little bit of acceleration towards the lunar module, and we are on our way in. So yeah, this mission does not require any real introduction. Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins, Neil Armstrong, the first three astronauts that were part of the Apollo 11 mission that brought man to the moon for the very first time, to the lunar surface for the very first time. It's, I wouldn't say old news, but it's not Johnny Flores' first rodeo, as I understand it. So we don't have a chunk. Perfect. That worked. I was a little bit worried that wasn't going to work. Beautiful. All right, and then we just reach in and we can separate from the S4B upper stage, and we are on our way with just the Apollo module and the lunar module, which we could use as a little bit of a orbital module as well on our way over, because it has some extra space for the astronauts to hang out in. So yeah, I don't know how much time they actually spent hanging out in the lunar module, but they did at least visit it once on the second day of their mission. They went in there to like check it out, make sure everything was working well, test systems and that sort of thing. And I can imagine that something very similar would be happening with our astronauts here to make sure that our lander is going to be working properly. So let's just do kind of a little bit of a systems test. Looks like the RCS is off, as it should be. We have, let's see, we are going to control from here to make sure that we are pointed in the correct direction. The only engine that's on is the big SPS bell right there. And yeah, so that looks pretty darn good. So let's take a look at our trajectory. We are indeed going to need to alter this a bit. So when we are pretty close, why don't we make a plan? Or actually, why don't we do that now-ish, because that's going to be a lot cheaper, I think. That is a retrograde orbit, so we will push retrograde to give us a prograde orbit around the moon. Getting a little bit better, maybe. So yeah, just 2 meters per second worth of burn. Pretty much any time now is going to handle this for us. So our destination today is the major craters of the moon. So I'm going to have to like cheat. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm going to have to use the landing predictions of the of MacLeod to get an idea of where that's going to be, because I don't actually know which one the major craters are. That's something that we would know ahead of time, so I'm not going to feel too bad about it. But that is something that I don't know off the top of my head. Which of these little craters is a major crater? All right, so we are overshooting our man, this is actually not super well controlled. This is pretty. I maybe should have opted for the heavier RCS quads. This is almost a 50-ton vessel. I guess I should have. Yeah, that interesting. But anyways, we are just about on target here, so I can really just perhaps use my RCS. I can technically, if I wanted to do that all day. But I could also just execute this node using MacLeod. All right. So yeah, just 2 little activations there, and I'm just doing this myself because that was getting to be a pain in my butt. Anyways, let's take a look at what we got. We are about 694 kilometers out. I'm just going to use RCS now to finish this off. Bring us down to a nice low paraloon. 150 kilometers sounds just fine to me. And there we go. So yeah, now I'm going to place my maneuver 2 at the perigee. Go ahead and circularize. And there we go. So yeah, that is what I'm basically looking at, although I am, once I'm inside the system, going to take a look and see what, actually before I even do that, I want to see what the, where our trajectory could possibly bring us as far as biome. So I'm going to use these, I'm going to use this, and yeah, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. Is I'm trying to use this to find the predictions as far as biome. All right, so it looks like there is in fact some Mater Crater action along our path if I just follow this orbit, so I think we're going to be okay. All I did was I created a circularization maneuver here at our Paraloon, and then I just kind of scrubbed the a deorbit burn all the way around until I found something interesting, and then I did. So there we go. That is what we are going to aim for. Delete maneuver 2, but maneuver 1 should be just fine because that's going to bring us down a little bit too low. There we go. There we go. Beautiful. So yeah, there we go. That is what we are looking for as far as getting into orbit of the moon. So before we do anything else, let's take a look at our systems. Do a little systems check. Make sure everything is okay, because they're not. See? Let's see. Can I turn on the fuel cells? Yes, but I can't change whether or not they are dumping water, which I imagine is the problem. Even when I fix it, I feel like it, the Kerbalism external ECLSS modules get all 4 things, and I don't really understand why. So a big part of what is killing my batteries right now is avionics, and then what you see once I'm in time warp, that's actually fine. We are back to gaining power. Because it shuts down the avionics at the very least on the ascent stage, if not on the Block 3 command module, which brings us down below the amount of mass that we can actually control, but that doesn't matter while we are in time warp. So, looks like we are okay. We have water from the fuel cell, we have oxygen, nitrogen, lithium hydroxide, unlimited for some reason. I don't actually like that. That actually means to me that there's not a CO2 scrubber working somewhere. Back scrubber. Oh, that's something that messed up when I that messed up when I switched it. Okay, I don't even know how I got a vac scrubber on here. I don't think I had one of those unlocked before. I turn that off and then I turn on the lithium hydroxide scrubber here on the Lunar module. Hopefully that's going to be enough. Okay, that looks fine. The lesson to take away from this is don't upgrade your major version number of RP-1 in the middle of a career while you have a vessel in flight, or a vessel under construction even. Because it will cause all sorts of trouble and it will be your fault entirely. This is not a problem or a bug. This is my own issue with upgrading in the middle of stuff. That is one of the coolest shots I've gotten in this game. So yeah, look at this. This is the new skybox, the latest version of Scatterer. It seems that has unborked my sun flares. Yeah. Just everything is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm so happy about that. Even if I am complaining a little bit about being hoisted by my own petard with breaking stuff, at least there is all this really cool stuff for us to look at. It looks better, and it runs a little bit better. Just a little bit. Not like a huge amount, but it does run a little bit better, which is just fantastic. And turn on our retractable antenna, and we are good to go, I think. Turn on the lights. Yeah, very cool. All right, see you at the moon. Here we are in the sphere of influence of the moon. We can almost get... There's almost a world where I can get the Earth and the moon on the same camera. Anyways, we are just about here and just about ready to rock. The wheel's broken on my landing legs. That's really annoying. I'll have to see if I can edit that. Shoot. Yeah, I think this is one of those things where it broke while it was in the fairing when I first launched it, and I just didn't notice this time. Gosh darn it. Okay, well, we will get into orbit and then I will play with that. All right, so our plan is still good, I think. We are heading down into a low orbit and coming down rapidly now. Oh, interesting. Waterfall seems to like lock into when you time warp. It seems to be locking in the last thing that I was doing, or MacLeod was doing, I should say. But yeah, we are now on the dark side of the moon. Lunar night has fallen as we are coming around to our point that we are going to burn into orbit. Looks like we're going to get a good 190. Woo, look at that. Holy crap. That's awesome. Oh, that looks so good. But yeah, we are coming into a good orbit now, and that should bring us down on our next step, and then I'm going to have to jump off and take a look at fixing these landing legs, which is frustrating. Hopefully that's something that's fixed once I rebuild from everything from scratch, because that's something that I'll be doing now going forward. Is now that I'm in this new version, it's very clear that I need to rebuild a whole bunch of my craft, which is fine. It's a good thing. It's a good practice to be in every so often, to just go through and make sure everything is working the way it's supposed to. I'm hoping that we're going to get some good unlocks pretty quick so that we can see that, see new stuff, see new rockets, new parts, new things like that. So there's a couple missions that I have coming up that are going to involve some new things, but otherwise I'm mostly waiting for unlocks. Rolling out one such spacecraft to the pad even as we speak. So yeah, we are just about in orbit, and there we have it. We have entered into orbit. Johnny Flores, Lisa Kim, Thomas Reed entering into lunar orbit and preparing to descend down to the lunar surface. Now I can actually shut down the avionics on this without breaking anything, so that we are maintaining our power forever. Or at least for now. Yeah, so our very next step is to figure out where a good spot is for our descent. So it looks like we have entered into a 240 by 120 kilometer orbit, which is not super awesome. So let's fix that a little bit. When we get down to our perigee, or paraloon here, pardon me, let's go ahead and circularize. And there we go. We are just bringing it on down to 120 kilometer circular orbit. Fabulous. And this is not too far off from what the Apollo 11 mission did. They brought themselves down into an orbit that was about 62 by 70. They were looking for an orbit of about 69 miles, which is about 111 kilometers roughly. So a little bit lower they orbited even than we are here, but I think this is probably just fine. And the way that they did their next step is they brought it down into a 10 kilometer paraloon, which they use to actually perform their descent. And we are going to do something very, very similar as soon as we find the place we want to go. What we're looking for are major craters. There we are. Major craters are right here, right around where or if we burn here on a subsequent orbit, we should, in theory, be able to get to where we're going. So we're just going to time warp around. And there we go. Actually, that was a mistake. That's not how I should do this. The way that we want to do this is like, so this is where that would be if I were to actually make this change in my orbit where we were going straight down into the ground. But that's not what we want to do, right? We want this area, but we want it to be, let's see, major craters right in here. So that's the right area, but we want it to be like, we want our paraloon to be right over it at about 10 kilometers. So I'm going to just go over here. We are going to increase the orbit and then bring that back down to about 12 kilometers. 10 kilometers. That is about what we're looking for our for the burn of our descent module. So we're going to warp a little bit closer to that, but we are going to spend a moment doing system checks and things like that, so we don't want to get all the way on top of it. We want to make sure that the lunar module is going to be able to survive this weirdness that I will be doing to it. All right, so we've got about 6.5 minutes until we are scheduled for our burn. So what I'm going to do is we're going to activate the avionics on the lunar module. Want to make sure that everything else is working, and I am going to have to jump off here to see if I can't fix these, which is just so annoying. I don't want to have to hyper edit another thing in here, but that might actually be what happens. But let's check everything else real quick just to make sure that we're okay. So the real antennas, wow, that's a lot of stuff. Dude, I don't know why there's 4 antennas on here, but it should be all right. And scrubber. Looks like I'm gonna have to use this weird vacuum scrubber anyways. Okay, so if I were to transfer over some crew, we send Thomas Reed what's happening? Dunking. Here we go. SM based. SM? Oh, do I have I didn't realize I had ship manifest. Okay, cool. Yeah, so ship manifest is now part of this. I swear I don't remember downloading it, so it must be part of the new RP-1 install process. So we're doing that, and then we are also going to transfer Lisa Kim. You hear them thunking their way up through the docking ports and everything else to get into the lunar module and prepare for their descent. Okay, so we are ready to roll. So now I want to decouple and see from there, undock. Gonna enable our RCS, and we are going to activate that engine so that we are ready to roll. Push away. And leave the rest as a cliffhanger, unfortunately, because that is all the time I have for this episode. I also had to, at this point, go in, and I figured it was a good time, now that the pieces were separated, for me to go in and actually fix the save file, fix the broken legs. So I went and did that, and then I'll be reloading the game from there to make sure that everything else is working. But yeah, that'll do it for this time. If you enjoyed this episode, please let me know what you think down in the comments below, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.